After 10 years of cold indifference, we have raised the minimum wage for millions of hardworking Americans.
The last time we saw the federal minimum wage increase, Justin Bieber looked like this. So why are politicians cruising so slowly toward raising the minimum wage?
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
No.
Bernie Sanders thinks it's because they've been paying more attention to those deep-pocketed business groups.
Walmart, McDonald's,
Dollar Tree, Wendy's, Burger King, Uber, Subway, Dunkin' Donuts, Home Depot, Lowe's.
And to those corporations that benefit the most from low-wage workers.
no one in America can live with dignity, can raise a family on $11 or $12 an hour.
And a whole bunch of politicians in both parties seem to be coming around to the idea.
And we will persist with the minimum wage.
We want to reward hard-working people.
I don't pay you to breathe.
You hardly pay us at all.
You have many Republicans who represent states where an increase in the minimum wage has passed by the voters. That puts them in a very difficult situation.
This is Congressman Bobby Scott. He introduced the Raise the Wage Act of 2021.
There's no county in the United States, for example, where a full-time minimum wage worker can afford a modest two-bedroom apartment. Not just a high-income areas, not a single county, a full-time worker. And that's not right.
If the U.S. had kept up with inflation, minimum wage would be around $20 right now. Instead, it sits at just $7.25 an hour. The bill also makes it so that we won't go another decade without raising the minimum wage.
And this legislation increases the minimum wage gradually to $15 an hour by 2025, but then increases it with inflation so that we don't have to have these long gaps again.
Still, not everyone is on board.
We know the result of a $15 federal minimum wage increase all at once. 1.4 million lost jobs. That's not what we need in the middle of a pandemic.
Trying to do that big of a jump overnight would be really tricky on the economy.
That's Heidi Sherholtz. She's a senior economist at the Economic Policy Institute.
From the economic perspective, we want workers to get higher wages as quickly as possible while balancing giving businesses time to adjust.
So if you think it's okay to have a $10 minimum wage, we don't even get there this year.
In the last Congress, a Republican-led Senate didn't give much attention to the federal minimum wage. But in the new Congress, House Democrats have already passed this bill. But the Senate sucks the fun out of that real quick.
Miss Sinema, no.
Some said they want to debate it as a freestanding bill. Other opponents say it'll cause job loss or primarily benefit teenagers with little experience who just want extra spending money.
Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?
But that's not totally accurate, according to Sherholtz.
1 in 10 workers who would get a raise is a teenager. People who would be affected by this minimum wage increase, on average, contribute half of their household's total income. These jobs deeply matter.
According to the Congressional Budget Office, raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2025 would increase wages for at least 17 million people and lift almost 1 million people out of poverty. But it would also put 1.4 million Americans out of work. Is that outcome worth it?
We keep hearing about the minimum wage either being bad for small businesses or good for workers, and that seems to be the parameters of the debate.
This is Colleen Duty. She's a history professor at DePaul University.
And that ignores the fact that in 1938, when Franklin Roosevelt and his administration introduced the first federal minimum wage legislation, they did so as part of a stimulus package.
Put a floor below which industrial wages shall not fall. Millions of industrial workers receive pay so low that they have little buying power.
People at the bottom 20% of the wage earners spend more of their income than those at the top, who tend to save more of their income. So if we're thinking, how do we stimulate the economy? Encouraging consumption by putting money into the pockets of those people who are then going to go out and buy stuff is an effective strategy.
So if we waited a decade, why now?
Post-COVID context is making everyone really think about, okay, what did we do in the aftermath of the Great Recession? One thing that we learned in the aftermath of the Great Recession is that even if you get jobs back, it doesn't necessarily imply they're good jobs. It doesn't necessarily imply that you are going to see strong wage growth. And there's also a lot of investment in having the kind of recovery that's not just strong, but it's also equitable. And a higher minimum wage is a key part of that.